Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, taking care of business on Canada's Podcast Network. Joining me today is Dallas Hart in Calgary, a local entrepreneur, son of the famous wrestler Bret The Hitman Hart. Thanks for being our guest today, Dallas.
Hey, Mario, thanks for having me today.
Well, I understand, obviously, wrestling is in the family blood. I understand you've got an event coming up in Calgary. Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so this Saturday, October 29th, we're bringing Dungeon Wrestling to the legendary Stampede Pavilion building, where my grandpa Stu Hart used to run Stampede Wrestling. And it's our first big show there, and we're really excited for it. And it's going to be a Halloween-themed event, so we got cool prizes, and not to mention the card is really stacked with great wrestling.
So tell me, first of all, for listeners out there, how they can get tickets and where they can get tickets.
Yeah, so you can either go to Eventbrite and just search up Dungeon Wrestling. The name of the event is Wrestling 2. We also can go through our website dungeonwrestling.ca, and it'll have the ticket link there as well. And you can also check out our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter profiles, Dungeon Wrestling.
All right. And obviously, $1 million question that I've seen on social media, people wondering if your dad's going to be there.
Yeah, he'll for sure be there. He won't be taking any bumps. He's put those days behind him, but no, he'll be there. He'll be part of the meet and greet. And he will be there watching, and he has his hand in, some of the matches. So he's really happy to be a part of it. And, we're happy to have him with us too.
Okay, let's go back a little bit of history for folks out there, Dallas. Let's start with Stampede Wrestling. Tell the people a little bit about the history of that. And, I think people growing up in Calgary will remember those fine days many, many years ago.
Yeah, so Stampede Wrestling, my grandpa, that's where he made his name, and he started it, and his show was running at the Stampede Pavilion. And, there was a lot of superstars that came out of Stampede Wrestling, my dad being one of them. Davey Boy Smith, British Bulldog, Dynamite Kid, Jim Neidhart, just a handful of them, but Brian Pillman Jr., lots of them wrestled for Stampede Wrestling and moved on to WWE to make their legendary careers. So, we're hoping to kind of do the same with our promotion and use it as a springboard to bigger things. And the card that we have coming up this weekend is very Stampede Wrestling-esque type card. So we got my cousin Harry, the British Bulldog son. He's taking on Nick Aldis for the Stu Hart heavyweight belt. And a lot of matches have a Stampede feel. Another one being the Billington Bulldogs, who are from the United Kingdom. They're going to be taking on the Bollywood Boys. And another big match we got is Raj Singh. His dad was the great Gamma Singh, who wrestled for Stampede Wrestling. And also Brian Pillman Jr. is going to be there as well. So a lot of ties to like old Stampede Wrestling, but with our own kind of Dungeon Wrestling vibe.
Blast from the past. Tell me, when you look at Stampede Wrestling, tell me why you think, first of all, wrestling, and then second of all, like Stampede Wrestling itself was so successful. Why were people drawn to that?
I think it's just like the way my dad always says is just, it was something to do. And then, a lot of people, especially not just Calgary, a lot of people watched it in Alberta. So it got a good following, and people, whenever they were in town, they knew that Stampede Wrestling was one of the tickets to go and get. And, there was always characters from, Abdullah the Butcher to Andre the Giant was there. A lot of good talent that my grandpa was able to bring in. And, he made a lot of careers for people. And, he always put on a really good show that families could enjoy. And, people all the time come up to me and, tell me about how they used to watch Stampede Wrestling. That was the only thing that was on TV back in the day. So, it was definitely one of the things to do when you were in town for a lot of people.
Now let's talk a little bit about the history about your grandfather Stu, and the name of the company here promoting this Dungeon Wrestling. Tell us the significance of the word dungeon for folks out there.
Yeah, so my grandpa had his Hart House up on in Coach Hill here in Calgary, and he would bring guys up there to train for the Stampede Wrestling promotion he had, and there was the infamous dungeon in the basement, and that's where guys would go down there, and he would stretch guys out and teach them some real wrestling moves. And it was a real dungeon feel down there. There's pipes hanging from the roof, and it was a little dingy, but it was it gave it that feel like it was an actual dungeon. And a lot of big names came through there. My dad trained down there, my uncle Owen, a lot of my uncles, cousins, and there's a lot of history down in that basement. So it was fitting for us to use Dungeon Wrestling as our promotion name.
What's your first memory of the dungeon?
Just like I'm sure all my other cousins would say, just being down there with I can't even remember how many cousins there are. I think there's 36 or something, but
Yeah.
every Sunday we were always up there for Sunday dinners at my grandpa's, and we were always down there playing. And we would be eating dinner at the dinner table, and you hear guys screaming down there. My grandpa would be down there stretching them out and teaching them some moves. So those are always the memories that always stick for me.
Who was some of the most famous wrestlers that you met as a kid?
I mean, a lot of them. Like whenever the WWE would come into town, a lot of them would hang out at my house. And one particular story, I remember coming home from school and Undertaker was sleeping on our couch. And some of my friends were just blown away by that. But for me, it was just kind of normal because I knew who he was. But yeah, probably maybe the Undertaker. But yeah, the Stampede Wrestling, I was still pretty young. Like when it was kind of dwindling down, I was still fairly young. So yeah.
Did you ever meet The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, down there?
No, I never. If I did, I don't remember meeting him, but I know that he's been over there, and I know that he's been over to our house. But yeah, no, I don't have any memories of meeting him.
Yeah. So what do you, when you were growing up, at the height, at the peak of your father's career, when he was the Hitman and well, still is the Hitman, but basically known throughout the world, right? Celebrity worldwide. Perhaps I always argued back in my days at the Calgary Herald, I always argued that, hey, this is the most famous Calgarian in the world that we have, as Bret The Hitman Hart. How old were you at that peak?
I was probably just getting into junior high, so 12, 13 years old. And for me, kind of just growing up around it, it just was normal. It didn't seem, a lot of people were kind of blown away, and would always ask me that, but it was just kind of the way life was at that time. So it wasn't it didn't really seem like anything too big at the time for me. And
Yeah.
as I got older, you kind of realize how big of a name he actually was back in that day. And I still see it now. Still to this day, we went and did a Q&A meet and greet thing a couple years ago back in Vancouver, and still just amazed by how many people stop and see him and recognize him still to this day. And he tells me that he gets more recognized today than he did even back then. Like his name still carries on, and people always come up and they're respectful and they always say hello and just want to shake his hand and meet him.
So, given the advantage now of being older and stuff, and maybe understanding more and seeing more, like, what your father was and had become, what do you think it was behind him and his brand that resonated with millions of people around the world?
I think it was his his wrestling skill was obviously world class, and definitely helped him get to the level that he got to. But I think the fact that, you know, he seemed genuine. He seemed like a real, actual wrestler, champion. You know, that he wasn't just a gimmick. He was actually there to win and, you know, to make to be the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And he, you know, he lived by that. He trained hard and he worked really hard. You know, he had to spend a lot of time away home from us and family and stuff. But you know, he really it was important to him to make his character, you know, a real one, that he was a real champion, and that, you know, he wasn't just you know, just a pro wrestler. He was an actual, you know, hero to people.
Did you ever get involved in wrestling?
So I did back when I was, you know, in my early 20s. I did try it for a bit, but you know, it just wasn't for me. You know, I've always followed wrestling and liked it, but you know, I kind of figured it wasn't really a passion of mine, so I kind of stayed away from it. But in the last coming years, it's you know, we started with just one little show, just as kind of something fun to do, and then kind of just snowballed, and we're like, you know, why don't we get a ring and start putting on these shows regularly and kind of pick up where my grandpa left off? Because you know, the name can definitely put a foot in the door for us. So you know, we have all the pieces there, so we just you know, just had to kind of put them together.
So what's your plan for with Dungeon Wrestling and these Stampede Wrestling style events? You know, more to come, and then are you looking even outside of Calgary to do some?
Yes, absolutely. So we have our upcoming show this Saturday, and then you know, we're going to be looking to stay at the pavilion often. So we want to do multiple shows there throughout the year, and you know, we've already had a lot of interest from places around Alberta, especially Edmonton. They got a good wrestling fan base there. So I think once we're, you know, get a little more established here, we're going to try to do a show in Edmonton, and then hopefully we can do a little tour across Alberta, kind of just like my grandpa did with Stampede Wrestling.
Yeah. Do you know when? I'm just curious. Do you know when the first show your grandpa put on? When it
For
was?
Stampede Wrestling, um, I want to say it was like maybe the late 50s or early 60s, maybe.
Yeah.
I could be wrong about that. That's just a
Before my time as well. Yeah, you know, I'm from Ottawa originally. I didn't move to Calgary until 1980, and that's when I started to understand, you know, the Hart family and its influence and profile in this city, and what it did with wrestling, and
yeah,
of course for all those old time wrestling fans out there, well, can't forget you know, Ed Whalen as the announcer to those events, and
absolutely.
it's too bad, obviously Ed is long gone, but it's too bad not around to see this. Who do you
Yeah.
have announcing, by the way?
So we got a guy, he's actually from Edmonton. His name's Spencer. He's done a couple of the shows we've done before, but he's a young, vibrant guy, and you know, we're really happy with how he announces the shows. But you know, we did look into trying to get Tony Whalen, Ed Whalen's son,
Oh wow.
to do it, and I think just, you know, conflicts of schedules, but you know, maybe in the future we'll try to get him for one of our shows too.
Okay, I'm trying to remember, refresh my memory. Dallas, what was the line that that Ed had all the time when something was huge in a big match? It was a ring,
A ring a ding dong dandy.
ring a ding dong dandy. Well, this was a ring a ding dong dandy interview. Dallas, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Absolutely, Mario. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And good luck with the show and future shows. I'm sure a lot of diehard wrestling fans and people, you know, will be very interested in that.
Absolutely. We hope to see you there too, Mario.
All right, super. Thanks very much. And that was Dallas Hart of Dungeon Wrestling. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, taking care of business on Canada's Podcast Network. Thanks for joining us today.